hello, Bretagne. Nice to have you with us. So, at Organic Space, our ambassador program is built around one simple idea: is that every feeding journey matters, every story matters, and the most powerful way for us to support other parents is to share real stories from real mother, real parents, and so other families can relate on and can learn from or feel less alone. And today I'm really happy to welcome Bretagne as a new ambassador in the Organic Space family. Bretagne is a mom of a little boy, a yoga teacher, a coach, an author, and yeah, Bretagne, welcome to the family.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to be a part of the Organics Best family. Thank you.
We're also really excited. So, Bretagne, just to start, can you tell a bit about yourself and your life with Harvey? Everything is like, tell us about everything.
Yes, yes. Oh, everything. Okay. So, so I'm a new mom. I live in Colorado, in the United States, and I got married just about 2 years ago, almost, and got pregnant right away. And so I live in Colorado with my husband and my baby Harvey and our two dogs. And we like to go on lots of walks together and baby snuggles. Just enjoying life as a little family.
That's really cute. Your son is 7 months, right?
Yes, he's 7 months. So he's starting to show, personality. He's a smiley. He's a very happy baby. In fact, we call him Happy Harvey because he's just happy to be here, and it makes us happy to have him here.
That's really cute. And how has the motherhood be like for you so far? Like how everything is going, basically.
Yes, yeah, it's true what they say that it is going to be the hardest thing you do, but also the most rewarding. I love, my husband and my parents and my siblings all very much, but being a mother, the love that you have for your child, I mean, it makes me emotional just to think about it because all I want to do is keep him safe. And I feel so much love from him, this unconditional love. And so being a mom and getting to enjoy waking up to my son every day really is just starting my day with sunshine.
Oh, that's amazing. That's I mean, like being a mom and this link between you and your son, your baby, is, I guess, like the most powerful thing that can exist. I mean, as soon as you like experience it, you really realize like how strong it is, I guess, and that's
Yeah.
really beautiful to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's funny because I have siblings. I'm the second oldest out of five, and I, helped raise my younger siblings, and I have nephews and nieces that I love and take care of, but there's no comparison to having your own child. It's life-changing.
It's your little you, basically. So
Yeah.
cute. And what are your, like you said, that it's beautiful, for sure it's hard, but it's also beautiful. And if you have to choose, like, for example, your favorite moments with your son right now, what would it be? Or like a highlight?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my favorite moments are, when I'll just go through my day. So when I, wake up, I have a baby monitor. So he sleeps in his room, in his crib, which is actually the room I'm in right now. And I will look at the baby monitor and he'll be awake, but he's not crying. He's just hanging out and he's, either looking at his hands because he realizes he has hands, or he's, nibbling on his feet. He's just being so present in the moment and so happy. And so I, start my day with this kid who is just in this place of wonder and exploration. And so I come into his room and he smiles with his eyes, very similar to how I smile. It takes up my whole face. That's how he smiles. And as soon as he sees me, he gives me the biggest smile and he makes these little sounds like, ah, like just so happy that I'm there. And I pick him up and he wraps his arms around me. He clings to me, he holds me. And it's so neat because, at first when you have a baby, they don't understand that they can hold back and you're just, holding on to them for dear life. But now he understands that he can hug me back. And so he holds me when I hold him. And that's absolutely one of my favorites. Also, he's trying some solid food now, and we're just trying with like avocado or banana, and he's learning what it is to like eat. So being able to give him a little bit of food and watch him like, what is in my mouth right now? And oh, it's so cute also to watch him try to crawl. He can't crawl yet, but he does this thing where he puts his arms like down, kind of like he's gonna army crawl, but he lifts his bum up. It looks like he's doing yoga, quite honestly. But he lifts his bum up, but he can't quite move. And he just kind of like does this wiggle. Oh, I could go on and on.
There is like plenty of things, I guess.
Yes, yes,
Really
lots,
great.
lots of joys.
Yeah, a lot of joy, a lot of admiration as well.
Yes.
You were talking about yoga. So you have done yoga, like, I mean, yoga has been part of your life since a long time, right?
Over 20 years.
Oh, such a long time. And like, I mean, it's a really like super powerful spiritual practice. And I want to know a bit like, how did that practice support you during your pregnancy, basically?
Oh, yes, it made a huge impact. So I was very intentional about getting pregnant. I knew that I wanted to be married first and then I wanted to get pregnant shortly after. And I had started doing yoga, 20 years ago, but didn't really deepen my practice until a few years ago when I went through teacher training. And I became a teacher because I wanted to learn how to breathe better. It wasn't even about yoga at first. I felt like I wasn't breathing. I wasn't connecting with my body. And so I went through teacher training and fell in love with yoga and realized, oh, I do want to teach. And so I started teaching and I was teaching, before I got pregnant. But as soon as I got pregnant, I knew that I wanted to continue to teach. And I'm so glad I did. I taught all the way up to 38 weeks. So just, 2 weeks before giving birth to my baby. And I was huge and I couldn't do everything. But it was magic. And when I talk to all new moms who are getting pregnant, I tell them, do yoga. It is so impactful to connect with your breath. It helps still your mind. Right? You're stepping into this new version of yourself, and it can be a little scary. Even if you wanted it, even if you plan to be a mom, right? It can be scary to be pregnant because it's the unknown, especially for a first time mom. And so you're able to build a little bit more mindfulness, but also your body needs to go through some changes so that your hips can open, so that you can deliver your baby. And by doing yoga, I was able to keep my ligaments very loose. I stayed very flexible, and it made actually birthing my son very easy. I didn't have to use pain medicine at all. And I was able to just basically breathe him out and have my child and make it a spiritual experience instead of making it such a scary one.
And how was this spiritual experience basically when you gave birth? Like, just because we talked about it already, you reached a state of mind and you were
Yes.
just like in this spiritual mindset. How it's super beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. So I had heard about other people having, babies, and I've heard a lot of the scary stories, right? And I knew that there were so many beautiful ones. Why don't we talk about those? So I sought those out, and I talked to some of my friends, and I read a book that was all about beautiful birthing experiences. I took a hypno birthing class, so I would be in a hypnotized meditative state. And so it was a spiritual experience while being pregnant, but I knew, I could just feel it. I had dreams. I knew that this was going to be a spiritual experience. And when I was in the delivery room with my husband and with the doctors and nurses and midwives, I felt like they weren't there. And I could feel my grandmother who had passed away, and I could feel my husband's mother who had passed away. And I felt like I was being ushered into motherhood through support from my ancestors. That, being a mother has been a thing for millions of years. And now I was being accepted into this club. And I felt like my connection to God, to the spirit world. I felt like I was in a different place, and I was able to bring my son in with so much love and light because of that.
Like, wow. It's crazy how the spiritual mindset, where like what this can bring you, basically. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you feel a special connection as soon as your son arrived?
Yes. But it felt, strange, right? Because this baby was just inside me, and literally three pushes and he was out. And, I was actually, on, all fours, and I pushed him out, and they said, "Look down, there's your son." And I was like, "There's my son? I thought my son was inside me." Like, all of a sudden you're like, "Wait, what?" And I, take him, and I turn around and I put him on my chest, and instantly, like, I knew him. I knew him like I had known him all my life. And even though I was tired and I hadn't slept and I hadn't eaten, right? It's a very intense process. I just felt this deep love. And I kid you not, within 5 minutes, I turn to my husband and I say, "Oh, I could do this again." And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, let's just take care of the one son for now."
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. It's super. I mean, yeah, you can be really grateful for that beautiful moment surrounded by your husband, and yeah, I mean, it's one life experience.
Yeah.
And now comes like the weeks after the birth. We heard a lot of things like this postpartum. How was it for you? Did you feel like a special connection? How did you feel emotionally as soon as baby is here now?
Yes, I felt really protective. So we're, I gave birth in a birthing center, but the birthing center was in a hospital, and they keep you for a day or two to make sure you're okay. And I actually lost a lot of blood, so they wanted to keep me, an extra day to make sure I was all right. And that's just because I have thin blood. And so I remember that these nurses would come in, and I was like, okay, the first nurse comes in. All right, this is our nurse, Amy. And so I was like, okay, Amy can touch my baby. Amy can check on my baby. But then the next shift, right, 6 or 8 hours later, a different nurse would come in, and I'm like, who are you? And what are you doing? I don't know you. And I just felt very protective. And they can take your baby if you want, so that you can sleep, right? Or someone else can nurse them or take care of them. And I said, no, I would rather not sleep. My baby will not be leaving my side. So immediately I just felt super protective over him. And I loved him so completely. And then when we came home, my husband would try to help, and he'd be like, okay, well, very hands-on. He's like, I can change his diaper, or I'll hold him so that you can sleep. And I was like, no, do not take my baby. My baby is going to stay right by my side. Just, even he wanted to go like show our neighbors, and, I'll take the baby so you can sleep. And I was like, no, I'm coming. So I felt so protective, and I just felt this deep love, but it's hard to explain it. Now, I did do a very good job of, mentally preparing and spiritually preparing, knowing that the postpartum time can be quite difficult and that there can be, a sadness or a depression that comes in. I did feel a little bit of sadness just that he wasn't inside me anymore because I loved having him inside me and feeling him move and kick. And I was like, oh, I didn't think I was going to miss that. And so I did miss that a little bit. And then some people choose to, take their placenta. I don't know if you've heard of that. But I did. I chose to have my placenta preserved so that I could take it. And this allowed me to help regulate my hormones. And so I didn't have a lot of mood swings. I was pretty even, but when I did start to feel maybe a little bit, not myself, it was mostly because I hadn't slept. And so I, would tell my husband, I need help. I need to get some sleep. And if I felt like I needed some support, I would just call my other, sisters or other moms and go, just tell me I'm normal. Just tell me what I'm going through is okay. And they're like, yes, that's normal. You're fine. And so it was still a very beautiful experience.
I can feel from here this special connection between you and Harvey. Like it's
Oh.
yeah, it's really beautiful. Do you feel that you had the support, like enough support in that moment? Like you said, your husband was here, your family was here.
Yes, I was gonna have a doula because I thought that would help me in the birth experience, and my husband said, "You don't need a doula. I'll be your doula." And I was like, "Okay, sure." But actually, he was. I mean, even during the labor, he was there for every contraction, physically giving me support, physically holding me and giving me counter pressure or stroking my hair or massaging me through every single contraction. And then when I came home, massages and my family delivered food. I don't have a ton of family that lives right by me. Some live in different states, but my brother and sister-in-law live in my same apartment building, and they brought a week's worth of food. They took care of our dogs for us. And then friends and neighbors just kept giving me things. I remember one neighbor saying, it's as if the building had a baby because they all felt connected to Harvey. And we just had everyone offering to babysit or to cook us meals or to hold him so I could nap. I mean, the amount of support I had, it was better than I could have even imagined.
Wow, that's really nice. That's really really nice thing actually to hear, because we are not alone in that, and everyone feels connected to that. And I would say it's also the energies that you are giving to people. It's the energy coming back to you. So
Yes, absolutely. Oh, you know a thing about energy. Yeah.
now I want to talk a bit about your feeding journey with Harvey. Before having your son, how did you imagine the feeding would look like?
Oh, I thought it was going to be easy because I got pregnant exactly when I wanted to. My pregnancy was a breeze. Even my labor was best case scenario, and the birthing experience was beautiful. So I just knew that it was going to be so easy, that he would latch on immediately, and I would generate milk immediately, and I would breastfeed without problem, and maybe even overproduce and breastfeed for a year, and then he'll eat real food. And this was my fantasy that I was living in.
It's a dream.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when things goes well like this, you can be like, then everything will be perfect.
Right, right. But life doesn't work that way, right? Not
No,
everything works out the way you plan.
like, yeah, I mean, we always have to adapt because, yeah, how was at the end the breastfeeding?
Oh, well, I was able to get him to latch sometimes, and apparently my nipples were actually a little bit small, they said, so he was struggling. But I was able to get him to latch, and I was able to feed him for the first, couple of weeks. But he seemed unhappy and fussy. So I saw a lactation specialist, someone who could tell me, am I latching properly? Am I holding him properly? What else could I do? Or are there any supplements that will help produce more milk flow? And so for a couple of months, I would actually see a lactation specialist, and they'd give me feedback, and they suggest, maybe I need to hydrate more. Maybe I need to eat more oatmeal or have, raspberry leaf tea. And so I'm trying all of these things, but my baby, though he was eating, never seemed satisfied. He was constantly hungry, not sleeping because he was hungry. He would fall asleep actually. So he would wake up from a nap, I'd put him on, and he would fall asleep because he had to work so hard to try to get the milk out that he would exhaust himself. And so he just wasn't getting enough. And so I remember going to see my doctor and saying, "Oh, what else do I need to do?" And they said, well, we're a little concerned because he's a little underweight. And you lose a little bit of weight after you're born, but he was at a point where they were concerned. And so they said, have you thought about introducing formula? And I said, I will do whatever it takes. I care more about my baby being healthy and happy than the milk coming from me. And I know that there are great formulas out there that provide, the vitamins and the nutrition that they need. And so I started on a journey to find formula that my son could take because I just wasn't producing enough.
And how did you feel actually the fact that you couldn't produce enough? Because you have this special link and you're like super protective with your baby, but at the end, this is not enough. So,
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
sorry.
No, it's that feeling is real. So as a mom, even when you're doing your best, even when you're doing everything that you can do, you don't feel like you're doing enough. And you constantly feel like you're a bad mom. And I remember other moms talking about that, and I thought they were silly. Like, that is so silly. You're not going to think you're a bad mom when you're doing everything you can, but you do, because you think you could always do more. Like, that's how deep your love is. What more can I give? I'm giving 100%, but what more can I give? And so I felt a little bit like a failure, because I was unable to produce, especially again because I was so healthy, and my nutrition was really good. I wasn't on any prescriptions. Like, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't producing. And there's this a little bit of shame, especially with mothers who, give birth naturally, who don't take medicines. They call them like crunchy moms, to give formula. They're like, why aren't you giving breast milk? And I realize that some things are out of my control. And I am so grateful for modern medicine, modern nutrition, that we have quality formulas. Because if this was, I don't know, a few hundred years ago, what would have happened if I couldn't give my baby formula? So yes, there is that feeling of like sadness, but then I realized that it wasn't about me. Remember, when you become a mom, it's not about you, it's about your baby. And so as long as my baby is well fed, then I am fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's your first time being a mom, you always have this tendency, I guess, to constantly question yourself, like, what can I do better, I guess. But like being mom is a first job as well. Like, it's the first time you experience that as well. So yeah, I can imagine that is quite hard sometimes, but the most important thing is that at the end you feel grateful.
Yes, yes. And that your baby is healthy, right? That's all that you want, is your baby to be healthy and happy, and then you're happy. And so, but you're right, being a new mom, you forget that it's the first time. You forget you haven't done this before, and you just think it's natural, so it'll just come easy. But just because it's natural does not mean it's easy.
Exactly, exactly. We have to deal with like these, let's like these changes, these things that we cannot have, or that everything is not going as we expect to go.
Yeah.
And so you started to look for formula. How was this new process?
Yes. Well, here I kept on getting samples, as soon as like, Target or Amazon, these other big places, they hear that you're having a baby, they send you samples. And I got samples of all these different formulas. And I was like, I don't know that any of these are right. I was reading the ingredients, and there were some things in there that I thought was very questionable. And I knew that the standards were, higher in Europe. In fact, I lived in Europe for 10 years. I was born in Berlin and, lived, some of my childhood there. And I remember the food tasting better, even the water tasting better. So I knew that there is better quality in Europe from my childhood, but I also worked in the pharmaceutical industry. And in the pharmacy and pharmaceutical industry, the ingredients and the requirements are very different in the United States for food and nutrition than it is in Europe. So I knew anything made in the United States was not going to work for me, was not going to work for my child. So I started to look at European formulas because I knew that they would give my baby what they need, what he needs, without having to compromise on the quality that I
Yeah.
want him to have.
Yeah, because I guess that you look like you go through this like spiral, like you look what's the formula and then you try to look at the ingredients and like there are tons of things sometimes that you don't understand and you're like, but what is the good choice for my baby? Like what
Yes.
should I do now?
Yes, well, exactly. And I feel like anyone who has to look at formula or in food, even if you're not using formula, but you're starting to introduce baby food, you're constantly aware of what can my baby have? Because remember, they have not been exposed to very many things. So you need something as close to breast milk that doesn't have any toxins or unnecessary oils. Like you need your baby to have something that they can easily digest. And so I had tried a formula, made overseas, and he seemed, fussy. Like he was getting some sleep, he was eating, he was getting some sleep, but he seemed miserable. And he was burping and crying and unsatisfied, and his tummy was making noises, and his poops did not look good. And I thought, what is going on? And I had talked to my doctor, and they said, oh, he's struggling with some colic. Is he also struggling with constipation? And I was like, yes, he'll go days without pooping, and I know that's not good. And they said, okay, well, maybe you should look for a formula that specializes in colic and constipation. So I went ahead and was looking specifically for a European made formula that was formulated to help babies with colic and constipation. And that's when I found Kendamil Comfort on Organic's Best website. And I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
How did he react when you first like give the first bottle of Kendamil Comfort?
Oh my gosh, the relief. The relief. I did not realize that his belly was bloated before. I didn't know. I didn't know what baby bellies look like at that age. But as soon as I gave him that formula and he was able to take it down and fall asleep, almost immediately, after he woke up from his nap, I looked at his stomach and it looked deflated. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's been bloated this whole time. No wonder he's been miserable and in pain. So instant relief for him. And it has been a godsend. And that has been our go-to formula. We introduced it, I want to say it was around month 3, I think. And he has been using it now. He's almost 7 months. And that is his go-to formula.
Wow, okay, beautiful relief, right?
Yes, yeah. And then as a mom, you're like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Finally, finally, we made it.
Yes.
And how is he doing right now? Still
He's
with
he's
food and
doing great. I do start to introduce food like, avocado and sweet potato, but he loves his formula. I'm trying to give him food, and he plays with it in his mouth, but I taught him some sign language, and so he does the sign for milk. And he's like, I don't want this avocado. Where's my milk, mom? And so I'm like, okay, fine. I put the spoon down, I give him the milk, then he's happy. And he's at this point now where he wants to hold the bottle by himself, which he can't quite do, but he's trying. He's like, well, I want to feed myself my milk because I love my milk. And he's so adorable.
big boy doing his own thing and wants his own milk.
Yes, yeah, he's such a big boy.
Oh, that's cute. Well, the most important thing is that now everything is okay. You found the right formula for your baby, everything. He's healthy, he's thriving, everything is good.
Yes, and growing, right? Because that big concern was that he was underweight. Now, since being on the formula, his weight has consistently stayed in the healthy average. His, head circumference is also where it should be. He's actually a little long. They say that he might be a tall guy. So I know that if we did not find the formula that he needed to give him the nutrition as soon as possible, that maybe he would not be growing at the rate that he is. But now he's growing so perfectly. I'm just so grateful that we were able to find something that could help him and give him the nutrition he needs.
I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really, really happy to hear that. And now everything is good.
Yeah.
We are arriving soon to the end of this interview. And yeah, still about this feeding journey, like a lot of mom feels the same, like feel guilty that they cannot breastfeed, like because they imagine something and like as you, something is like things are happening sometimes.
Mhm.
And what would you say to a mother who is also like struggling in that and questioning herself, for example?
Okay, so to all the moms out there, you aren't doing anything wrong. You are the best mom that you can be, and your baby is so lucky to have you. You have done everything right to prepare for this journey, and there are some things that are just out of your control. And that doesn't mean that you have failed. In fact, it means that you have shown up despite things not going the way that you planned. And now we have, modern technology and food that can feed our baby. And all your baby wants is your love. And so I just want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you and that you're not alone. And maybe people don't talk about it enough, but a lot of new moms use formula because they're unable to produce enough milk. I know I was that way. And even though everything else went right, that was something that went kind of awry. And you are still perfect and your baby is still lucky to have you. So set shame aside, set guilt aside, and just know that all your baby cares about is having you, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you for that answer. I guess it gives a lot of support to every mom because, as you said, I mean, you are not alone in that, right? But sometimes you can feel alone.
Yeah, you can. And even if you know other moms that are, have kids, you still can feel alone. It's this funny thing being a mom, even though almost every other person is a woman and a lot of those become mothers. There's a lot of moms out there. You still feel very isolated. And so I think it's important for us to share our stories and to let people know. And so I would encourage a new mom too, if you are feeling, not enough or some shame around not producing enough breast milk, you do not need to suffer in silence or in secrecy. Share it because that might also give the courage for someone else to reach out so that they can get help too.
And you shared with me that you found your kind of buddy partner when you were pregnant, right? Like you found your support, your friend, and your friend that was also pregnant, right? Did this also help you in that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I teach yoga and I work out at the gym all the time. And I had met this woman who was also pregnant at the gym. And it's so funny. I see this woman trying to do stretches with her big belly, and I have my big belly. And I go, "Oh my gosh, you're pregnant. How far along?" And we say like, 5 words to each other. And I'm like, "Can we be friends?" And she's like, "Okay, I'll be your friend." And I actually have developed this really deep relationship with this woman. It was her first baby as well, also a son. She's about my age. She had her son a couple of months earlier. And to have a mom who has been through it just a couple of months earlier has helped so much. I think people forget that you don't have to have it all figured out, have raised 5 kids and sent them off to college. You only need to be a few steps ahead so that you can guide or light the path for someone else. And that's what she has done. She has been such a huge support in all ways, big and small.
Nice. That's really nice because you can have for sure your husband, your family, but at the end, feeling connected as well to someone that goes through the same experience, the same worries, the same question, like everything like you is really like powerful and supporting as well for you.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Bretagne, I have one last question for you. I can really feel, as I said, this powerful link between you and your son, and that was something that you were expecting since a while to be a mom. And I want to ask you, like, today, is becoming a mother gave you access to kind of a new version of yourself?
Oh my gosh. Yes, not only does becoming a mom give me access to a new version of myself, I think it's imperative. I think it's the only way to become a mom is to become a different version of yourself. And I remember talking to another mom who said, "You're going to have to let the old Britannia die." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And like, you're going to have to let, party Britannia, single Britannia, crazy wild Britannia, you're gonna have to let her go. But it's so that you can make room for another version. And I remember having to be very intentional about that. And I even had a baby way. It's this like blessing where mothers come together while you're pregnant. And they helped bless me and step into my divine feminine energy and helped me with this process of becoming another version. But it's so crazy. You don't realize how you're a completely different person until once you're a mom, because you feel like you're living a very happy and full life. And I love my dogs, my husband, my friends, and all the things I do, writing my book and podcasting, like a very, very full life. But it was as if I was living my life in like 2D, in a lower resolution. And then becoming a mom, I'm in HD, I'm in 4D, I'm in, this intense version, this depth I didn't know existed. I feel more like myself, but I had to let the old version of me go to become her.
Beautiful experience. It's amazing to see like really this positive also side of the motherhood and becoming a mom, because we hear so many things, but seeing such a positive eye on it like you have is for me it's really inspiring as well. So
Oh, thank
thank you for
you.
sharing all of this. Thank you for this really nice interview. Thank you for joining Organic's Best Ambassador program. We are so happy to have you, and I'm sure that you will inspire our community.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for allowing me to share my story.